Three more championship matches, a shocking turn, and a chicken wing eating contest that ends with someone getting punched in the face. It is night 2 of NXT's Great American Bash. We've got lots to talk about. Let's dive right in. This is About Last Night on Rumble Rewind. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rumble Rewind. My name is Brandon. We've got a lot to talk about on night 2 of NXT's The Great American Bash. It was actually pretty loaded. We're going to dive right in. Before we do that, though, scroll down below this video, hit that like button for me, and go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Turn on your post notifications so you never miss an upload. We upload videos several times a week, Raw recaps, NXT, SmackDown recaps, PLEs, all of that stuff. If you want to get your thoughts out there, join us in the comments, but make sure you never miss those uploads. All right, let's dive right in. This was night 2 of the Great American Bash. We were hosted once again by Hank and Tank, who throughout the night were hosting a barbecue in the backstage area of the NXT locker room. Now, a lot happened at this barbecue. Right off the bat, we would see Lexis King and Eddie Thorpe continue their rivalry over music choices, and we'll get that match next week. Additionally, we saw Stevie Turner and Robert Stone bickering as always, and this would result in them being challenged to settle it in a wing eating contest. They would dive right in, much to the disappointment of Ava. Now, this would continue throughout the night with segments here and there. Now, throughout these segments, we would see various members of the NXT women's division discussing who should get the next shot at Roxanne Perez's title. Eventually, Roxanne walks through the scene saying, "Here's women I haven't beaten yet." This lands on the ear of Robert Stone, who has the great idea of booking all of the women who have never had a championship match in NXT in a multi-women match, with the winner getting a shot at Roxanne's title. He says he's going to leave to go tell Ava of his idea, when Stevie punches him in the face and says that she'll tell Ava instead. Now, we never find out who won the actual wing eating contest, but based on the result there, I would say it's Stevie Turner. Now, throughout these segments, we also had several other storylines being continued. One of those was Brooks Jensen and Shawn Spears. At one point, we see Brooks filling a cup with a beverage, to which Shawn Spears walks up and says he shouldn't do that because Spears was one of the people that argued to bring him back. Jensen says, "So what, do I owe you my career now?" Spears says, "No, but you do owe me an open mind, and if you give me that, you won't need this anymore." The barbecue would ultimately come to an end late in the evening when the Good Brothers show up and begin to brawl with Hank and Tank. So I'm assuming we're going to get a Hank and Tank versus the Good Brothers match next week. But all in all, these barbecue segments were fun. If you did watch the show, let me know what you think about it. For me personally, I'm excited that it kind of moved a lot of story forward in the women's division especially. We're going to get a match presumably next week, maybe the following, of a lot of superstars who haven't had a shot at the NXT Women's Championship yet. I'm excited to see who they kind of push out of that. And I don't think that person's going to win unless, Cora Jade shows up or maybe Julia or Stephanie Vaquer show up to enter that match. That would be interesting. But let me know your thoughts. Who do you think should be Roxanne's next challenger if it's not one of those three? All right, let's talk about some of the matches that happened on the card. It was actually full of really, really entertaining matches. The show would open with Pete Dunne taking on Trick Williams. This match was set up last week, and much to my surprise, Pete Dunne got the clean win. Now, if you watched my Raw recap, I thought that Sheamus might show up and get involved. If you didn't see Raw last night, you missed a banger. Check it out. Here's the recap video right here. Click on that, and I'll tell you all about it. But I did kind of think that Sheamus might show up and cost Pete Dunne this match. That didn't happen. Pete gets the win clean, and once again, Trick Williams is in a position where, and the commentary team said this, he needs to figure it out. Now later, as Pete Dunne was leaving the arena, he would get a quick backstage interview in which he talked about his journey so far. Trick Williams, however, would attack him out of nowhere, interrupting that interview and say, "Hey, Pete, figure this out." So I'm guessing we're going to see this story continue, and I'm really interested in where it goes. I know for the most part, this is just kind of to keep Trick out of the NXT Championship picture for a little while Ethan Page has his run. And I'm really curious to see where it goes for both of these guys. I don't think Trick's turning heel because he's so over with the fans. But again, I'm very curious to see what this leads to as far as Trick's character development goes. Let me know what your thoughts were on that match. It was definitely one of the top matches of the night, but let me know how you saw it in the comments below. All right, let's move on and talk about Joe versus Joe. Spoiler alert, the winner is Joe. That's right, Joe Coffey takes on Joe Hendry, and this was a fun match to watch. One of the highlights for me was when Joe Hendry was on the outside. It looked like he was going to get attacked by the other members of Gallus, but Joe Hendry picked up a chair, and instead of using it to defend himself, He dives onto the announce table, lays down, and puts the chair on top of himself. Very Eddie Guerrero. The referee turns around and sees this and ends up kicking the other two members of Gallus out of the arena. After this, Joe Hendry would pick up the win with a choke slam, and there's no surprise there. Joe Coffey is kind of enhancement talent, right? Like, he gets a win every now and again, but currently the way that he's being booked, his whole job is to make top stars look good, and that's what happened here. Now, after the match is where the real story took place. Joe Hendry was interviewed about how he enjoyed his time in NXT. Joe Hendry said that he enjoyed it so much that he plans to be here next week, and he plans to stick around for a long time. He said you won't even have to say his name to make him appear because he will just be there. So let me know your thoughts on this. How do you feel about Joe Hendry being in NXT? I know that his deal with TNA is up in the near future, and he may be moving towards signing with the WWE. Now, here's the thing for me, though, with Joe Hendry, and I've talked at length about how I feel about these NXT crossovers. If you haven't seen that yet, you can check out this video right here, and I'll tell you all about it, and we'll love your thoughts on that as well. But with Joe Hendry specifically, I feel like I don't get it. I heard this on another YouTube channel, and I thought it accurately described how I feel about Joe Hendry so well, I thought I would share it. I feel like this is a big inside joke, and I'm just not in on it. I'm just not a huge fan. Everybody believes in Joe Hendry. I just really don't. I think he's kind of mid, to be honest with you. Let me know in the comments, though, what you think. What am I missing? And how would you convince somebody? What matches should I watch? What segments or content should I watch to help me understand Joe Hendry and maybe help me get behind it a little bit more? All right, let's talk about Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray. Now, this has been an ongoing story, specifically with Ren Sinclair and the No Quarter Catch crew. Ren Sinclair wants to be in the group, and Charlie Dempsey is resisting with everything he's got. Now, in a backstage segment, Ren Sinclair was trying to get the No Quarter Catch crew to come out with her to enter her match with Kendall Gray because she's going to fight the person that's been tossing Miles Bourne around. Now, Charlie Dempsey wants nothing to do with this, and Ren finally says, well, what if I win tonight? Can I be in the group? He says no, but at this point, the family comes in, and Tony D says if Ren Sinclair wins her match tonight, that he will give Charlie Dempsey another Heritage Cup shot next week. Ren says she's only going to participate if she can be in the group if she wins. Charlie Dempsey finally agrees, and we go to the match with, at this point, an obvious outcome. Ren Sinclair does beat Kendall Gray fairly cleanly and is now in the No Quarter Catch crew. But that means that we are getting Charlie Dempsey versus Tony D'Angelo for the Heritage Cup next week, and I think that's going to be another incredible match. I really like the idea of having Ren Sinclair in the No Quarter Catch crew. I think that she's developed a lot of personality on screen over the last couple of weeks with this story specifically, and I'm curious to follow it and see where we go from here. In addition to those matches, we would get 3 championship matches tonight, but before we discuss those, let's talk about a few other stories that are really taking shape or continuing forward. First off, Chase U. We see Andre Chase and all of his students in the brand new classroom that Ridge Holland apparently made possible. Now, while Chase is teaching this class, Ridge would show up and say that he's got some great news, that he got Chase U another opportunity at the Tag Team Championships against whoever is the champions after tonight. Could be MSK, could be Fraxium. We don't know because that match is the main event. After Ridge shares this news, Duke Hudson gets really excited and says that they are going to bring the championships back to Chase U finally. Ridge says he's so sorry, he should have been more clear, but this opportunity is for him, Ridge Holland, and Andre Chase. He says that he wants to prove himself a valuable member of Chase U. Duke looks really, really sad about it, but everybody else is celebrating the opportunity and celebrating Ridge Holland, which makes Duke, the MVP, feel a little jealous. So I don't know where this is going. I still think we're on this roller coaster ride with Chase U, where one week it looks like there's going to be a split, and the next week it looks like they're all on the same team. Right now, it's kind of everybody with Duke on the outside, so we'll have to see where it goes from here. But I do think down the road, eventually, there's going to be some kind of split. Tell me in the comments, though, what do you think is going to happen with this story? Where are we headed? And is there a split coming? All right, the next thing that we need to talk about is Oba Femi. Now, last week, we saw Oba Femi walk into the Performance Center, and that was it. Now, tonight, we saw a couple of moments where Oba Femi sort of barged his way through, and we would find out that later he did have a meeting with Ava. His championship was the only one that wasn't defended over these 2 weeks, and I think with Oba Femi's character, that would be frustrating for him. So we would find out later in the evening in an interview type segment that next week he will be defending his championship, and he said against any man who's brave enough to step up. So we are getting a open challenge next week for Obafemi's North American Championship, and the streets are saying it's probably going to be someone from TNA who's going to come over and challenge for that championship. So we'll have to see. Let me know in the comments who you think it is, and let me know who you would want it to be. Personally, there are so many people on NXT that I would want to get a shot at that championship before we brought in someone from the outside. But again, that's just how I feel about all these crossovers, and I could keep beating that drum all day, but let's just move on. All right, like I said, we got 3 championship matches, the first of which was Tatum Paxley taking on Kalani Jordan for the Women's North American Championship. Now, this match was really, really good. I found myself buying into a lot of the false finishes and near falls, especially at one point late in the match when Tatum Paxley hit Kalani with the 450 splash. I was thinking new champion all day. But Kalani kicked out and rolled to ringside, where she would look for Tatum under the ring and find the Kalani doll. This distraction, along with the appearance of Wendy Choo at ringside, would allow Tatum to get the upper hand for a little while. However, late in the match, Kalani Jordan would come back and get the win with a frog splash. Now, after the match, Wendy Choo would find Tatum at ringside and return the Kalani doll to her. Tatum looked happy, she looked excited. The camera pans back to Kalani, and then all of a sudden we hear a commotion because Wendy Choo has choked out Tatum Paxley. And we're all very confused, but if you watched my recap last week, I did list that as a possibility. Go check it out. I'll tell you all about it. I couldn't figure out if Wendy Choo is trying to be friends with Tatum Paxley or if she's actually after the Women's North American Championship. And after tonight, I believe it's confirmed she is after Kalani Jordan's Women's North American Championship, and that is going to be a good match. I could see that being a good feud. The challenge there is that currently Wendy Choo's character doesn't talk, and I don't know if that's going to be an ongoing thing or if she will start talking at some point, how she's going to communicate what she actually wants. Obviously, she can walk up to Kalani and just point at it, but we'll have to see where it goes from here. I'm looking forward to that match. Both women are doing really, really great ring work, and I actually could see Wendy Choo being a really great Women's North American champion. All right, this second championship match we would get in the evening, and in the moment it was weird that it wasn't the main event, was Ethan Page defending the NXT championship against Oro Mensah. Now, this match was a straight-up brawl. The commentary team would even say that a lot of this is at the ref's discretion because he wants to see a winner just like we do, so he's not counting ring outs too quickly. He's letting some things like that slide so that we can have a definitive winner. Now, this match would end when Oro Mensah would try to hit a springboard attack on Ethan Page, but would slip on the ropes, allowing Ethan to get the upper hand, hit him with the Ego's Edge once again, and then get the pinfall victory. After the match, Ethan Page rubbed it in his face that he was the champion and that Oro would never have a shot again, and he said, "This is not NXT, it's NX Me. It's all about Ethan Page, all ego." I think Ethan's doing a great job of carrying this thing, and I'm curious to see who's going to be the person to dethrone him down the road. Let me know in the comments, who do you think could be a great next opponent for Ethan Page and the NXT Championship? All right, the main event of the evening was MSK taking on Nathan Frazer and Axiom for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Now, we've seen a complete role reversal between Frazer and Axiom over the last few weeks, down to the point of tonight where Frazer is looking for Axiom and can't find him anywhere. Now, while Frazer is presumably searching high and low for Axiom, we would get a backstage interview with the Rascals. Trey Miguel talked about how this is the Rascals. They are united, but tonight is all about MSK. Wesley cannot wait to win these tag team championships. Axiom finally shows up with Nathan Frazer. He says he's ready to go. We head to the match. Now, this match was everything we hoped it would be, especially for a main event. Such an incredible match, but at the end of it, ultimately, Axiom and Nathan Frazer would get the win. I know that most of us thought, myself included, thought that this could be the end of Nathan Frazer and Axiom, that one of them was going to turn finally, with all the tension and all the drama that's been going on between the two of them around WWE Speed. But the bigger part of this story actually happened after the match and surrounds the Rascals. Now, while everyone's trying to cheer each other up and hug it out, at some point within all of that, Wesley's face really changes and he hits Trey Miguel with a super kick and then attacks Zach Wentz as well. He's yelling at both of them and continues this beat down for quite a while. Everybody in the arena is shocked. I think everybody watching TV is shocked. Maybe there's some people out there that say they saw this coming, but I don't believe that for a second. Since the Rascals got back together, Wesley has had a new energy that he hasn't had in a long time. He's been struggling with this North American Championship situation for so long that it looked like he was just beaten down and kind of done. He cut a promo before the Rascals came out that sounded like he was getting ready to leave NXT, and they reignited his passion for the business. No one saw this coming, but man, how cool was it to see Wesley finally turn on the Rascals, turn on people that he's been close with for a long time, and now we get this heel Wesley character that I think is going to be super interesting. The turn from face to heel really elevated Roxanne Perez and has really made me a fan of hers. I didn't really love her as a plucky babyface, but I love her as a heel, and the same may be true for Wesley. He has that same vibe of the plucky Roxanne Perez type babyface, and I'm excited to see what he does with this opportunity to kind of play the other side for a little bit. For me, this was the match of the night, but I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below how you would rate this one. All right, let's talk about the show overall. For me, I went into this show with low expectations because Monday Night Raw last night was top of the charts. It was an all-time episode of Raw. It was incredible. And I was looking ahead towards NXT, towards SmackDown, thinking there's no way that these shows can compete. Here's the problem. I carried that into my experience with NXT tonight. Now, as I was sitting down today to kind of think through this video and think through what I was going to talk about, I realized that this card was actually way more stacked than I gave it credit for. In the moment, I was feeling like this episode of NXT was a 6 to a 6.5, but I actually think it was closer to a 7.5, maybe even 7.75. It was that good, but my problem was I carried my expectations from an all-time episode of Monday Night Raw and projected them onto NXT. And I think a lot of times we do that as wrestling fans. We see something that's really, really good, that is next level, and that causes us to not enjoy the thing that comes behind it as much as we could if we would allow that thing to stand on its own. Raw has this benefit of having come off the heels of a PLE that was absolutely stacked and kind of carry that momentum forward. NXT wasn't coming off of something like that tonight. Now, while this was a special event, it's still kind of a Tuesday night regular episode of NXT. So taken as its own episode of NXT, it was actually very, very good. The in-ring action was actually really solid. The backstage segments were fun and pushed the stories forward. We saw some things come to a close tonight, but we also saw some stories set up for the next couple of weeks that are going to be really, really good. So for me, I've got to recant on what my thoughts were originally, thinking it was a pretty low-rated episode of NXT, and actually put it into the pretty good range and give this episode a 7.75. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comments below. How would you rate this episode, and what were the highlights for you? All right, that is it for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a bit on Rumble Rewind. Before you go, do me a favor, scroll down below this video, hit that like button for me, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and turn on your post notifications so you never miss an upload. We're getting closer and closer every day to our first 200 subscriber goal, and we'll be giving away some sweet WWE merch when we get there. We'd love for you to be eligible for that. The only way is to be subscribed to the channel. And if you love WWE and you want to continue talking about what's going on in this great sport, as Gunther would say, check out this video right here. We've got lots more to talk about. Thanks once again for hanging out with me for a bit today. We'll see you on the next one.